So have you been drinking?
Yes, I have. I've had 5 or 6 small batch bourbons.
That's a lot. I'm going to have to ask you to take a breathalyzer test. So have you been drinking?
Yes, I have. I've had 5 or 6 small batch bourbons.
That's a lot. I'm going to have to ask you to take a breathalyzer test.
Yes, I have. I've had 5 or 6 small batch bourbons.
Oh, yeah. Look what I'm doing. I handled this perfectly. This car's some cows. Oh, yeah. Look what I'm doing. Oh, wait, this is not my car. This is not my car. I have a gun on my car. Oh, wait, this is not my car. Let go. Let go. He's not going to notice. Roll it green. I got to roll it green. Oh, no. Officer, are you in need of assistance? I'm back up.
Stop the vehicle.
I'm back up.
Stop the vehicle now.
Are you in need of
Stop
assistance?
the vehicle. Get out of the vehicle.
Hey, here's the good news. I came back. Let's just talk about this.
So have you been drinking?
Yes, I have.
Oh my God. Officer, are you in need of assistance? Oh my God, that was hilarious. I thought that guy was hilarious. He accidentally didn't realize he stole the cop car. I thought that was genius. He's so drunk he didn't realize he stole the cop car. He's like, oh my God, this is my car. My car doesn't have a gun. He turns around. He pulls up to him. Officer, are you in need of assistance? That was really good. I thought it was really good. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Volley Program. I'm here. Oh, wait. No, what am I talking about? Oh, that's terrible. Welcome to Viewers Discretion. I am your host, Joe Neerman, a.k.a. Good Lawgic. It's been a while. It's been a while since it's been just you and me. Just you and me. Not that other Jim guy over here. He just goes, I'm kidding. I love Jim. But yeah. It's been a minute. It's been a minute. Oh, Lord. And the news that came out this weekend was kind of shocking. I'm not gonna kid you. It's kind of shocking. Two little bits of news that I found personally. So I did not have my bingo card for the weekend of May the 17th. Two news events, which are both thrown up there in my thumbnail. One is that Biden supposedly has a stage 4 prostate cancer. Stage 4 prostate cancer. And the second being Kash Patel and Dan Bongino coming out definitively saying there's no evidence that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. Now, I want to break each of these stories down, even though I think that they're perhaps more related than they might seem at a superficial glance. I think they're far more related. First and foremost, let's get into the news about Biden. Let's cover that first. Let's start there. The news about Biden. As Benny Johnson shared out, breaking: former President Joe Biden diagnosed with prostate cancer with metastasis to the bone, which is disastrous for anyone who hopes he's going to live. Disastrous for anyone who's hoping that he has long for this world. Supposedly, it's very painful, very difficult. What I saw is 30 to 35% survival chance in someone his age with this type of diagnosis. Last week, President Joe Biden was seen for a new finding of a prostate nodule after experiencing, this is a statement from the personal office of former President Joe Biden, prostate nodule after experiencing increasing urinary symptoms. On Friday, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer. I don't believe that. Characterized by a Gleason score of 9, grade group 5, with metastasis to the bone, meaning that the cancer has metastasized from the prostate, which is an organ, fleshy part of the body, to the bone. While this represents a more aggressive form of the disease, the cancer appears to be hormone sensitive, which allows for effective management. President and his family are reviewing treatment options with his physicians. Okay. That's what they're saying. That's the news. The news is that he has prostate cancer that has metastasized to the bone. First question I have for all of you. Do you think they really discovered this last week? That's the first thing we really should be asking ourselves. Do you think this is something they really found out about last week or not? That this is something that probably came about a while longer. No, a while that they knew about for a while. This is obviously a person, that is getting his health checked out regularly. And you would think that he's getting regular checkups. This is the sort of thing they probably would be looking for. So why is it that it's so advanced? I mean, clearly, they want to label it aggressive. When's the last time he got checked? When is the last time he got checked? When did that happen? I have a very difficult time. Believing that. The left is all out of breath, screaming about how MAGA should be praying for him, and then if you're making jokes about Biden's health diagnosis, that you're scum. And I'm not someone who would ever make a joke about it. I'm definitely not going to make a joke about it. There are several reasons I would not make a joke about it. One is I think it's uncouth. Two is I think that it is, you always have to worry that, if this sort of if you're mocking someone when they're in pain, you sort of feel like, you're begging for God's wrath and to reward you in kind. So there's that element for sure. That's definitely a factor in my brain as far as what I would say about that. My perspective, but what do you guys think is the proper perspective? I want to hear from you. You probably have seen or have some sort of inkling as to where I'm going from. Is this something we should be cheering, that we should be happy about? Or is there something wrong with being happy about it? And I've gotten from a bunch of people. I've gotten karma. I've gotten that. And this is interesting. You joke about everything or you joke about nothing. Not crying about it. God's wrath was handed to him and we should delight in it. Okay. Epstein didn't Epstein himself. Biden's had cancer for 2 years at least. He spilled the beans in a speech and they said he misspoke. This is Jim Tells You, in case you're unfamiliar and haven't been watching the last week or so. He's been co-hosting with me for the last week or so on a fairly regular basis. Done a phenomenal job in that capacity. I will be joining Jim Tells You when I wrap up here. In fact, I want to make sure that I'm redirecting everyone over there. Let me do that for you. That would be a real kindness. That would be the sort of thing that I would like. I know if I were in your shoes, I would be hoping that I would be doing that for you. And I'm more than happy to do it for you. Let me see if I can do it. Let me just make sure I can. Should be able to. It's something that's possible to be done. It's definitely possible to be done. Let me see if I can redirect over to Jim Tells You. Let me do that because I'm going to forget otherwise, and that's a very important thing because I'm really hoping to get Jim over 1,000 subs. That's a big deal. So if I go to my customization, and I go to my redirect, and I add a redirect. Jim Tells You, Jim Tells You, Jim Tells You, Jim Tells You. There it is. There you go. You're now redirected over there. When we're done, we're going to be there. Also, we have here Bella Stella gifting. 10. Good Lawgic memberships. Let me see who he brought in here real quick, and then we'll move on. Let me just check that out. Following 10 people brought into the following courtesy of Queen of Recruitment, Bella Stella. The Queen. All hail the Queen. Beautiful, messy ball. Look at that. See, I don't have to tell her. She knows to say thanks. Thanks, Bella Stella. And Vanessa Stuller, as well as Jennifer King. Small Wildflowers, PJ the Hobbit, Marie, Arkansas Labs. So you see, Arkansas Labs been here for years. I've seen Arkansas Labs around here. Patty Dunlap, another one who's been here for ages. And Hot Pocket, as well as Wiz. All of them gifted memberships to the following. Those of you who are new to the following, please be aware that the following is a gathering of like-minded individuals who are concerned with greater personal growth, which we attain through community, unity, learning, and thinking. I welcome you into this gathering. All hail the following, and all hail Queen of Recruitment, Bella Stella. We welcome you in here. We have cookies. All right, next. Let's move along. Let's move along. Yeah, so Epstein didn't Epstein himself. Biden has had cancer for 2 years. At least he spilled the beans in a speech, and they said he misspoke. Yeah, there's a lot of people who are speculating that he's had this for a while now. This is not a new development that, ooh, he's got cancer. You have to ask yourself, how does it metastasize to the bone so fast? I think the reason they're telling us is because it metastasized to the bone. That's why they're telling us. I think they knew about this forever. But as far as the idea that here is him slipping up, supposedly. Let's check this out.
And because it was a 4-lane highway that was accessible, my mother drove us, and rather than us be able to walk. And guess what? The first frost, you know what was happening? It had to put on their windshield wipers to get literally the oil slick off the window. That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer, and why I can't for the longest time. Grew up have cancer, and why? That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer, and why I can't for the longest time. Delaware had the highest cancer rate in the nation. And
that was from 2022. So that's, I think, that was in 2022. Yes, 2022. That's what I said, Rafe. Yeah. There you go. So I have a difficult time accepting that this is a new discovery that's just come to us now, and that he had no idea. I think that this is something that they don't want us to know they were hiding from us for so long. And that's why they say it's a very aggressive form of cancer. Oh, it's very, very aggressive. Very, very aggressive. I guess this way, if he's dead in 3 months, that will say, well, it was aggressive. It was very aggressive. It's tragedy. Terrible tragedy. I'll tell you that Joe Biden, and with respect to the whole wishing cancer on the likes of a Joe Biden, I was just in a space where we were talking about the whole Biden situation, and someone was saying, we should all be praying for him. And these are MAGA folk. And they were like, some of them were saying, we should be praying for him, be above that. You don't want, and some people were responding back, what would a Harry Sissons of the world be doing if this was, God forbid, something with Trump? They'd be celebrating, and they would be. But I don't look at them as a yardstick as how to behave, because I think they don't understand anything about what a healthy perspective on the world is. So I don't think that should be a yardstick. I don't think that should be a yardstick. So instead, I shun anything about that. I certainly don't use Harry Sisson or the Art Candies of the world or the cult activisms or the Brian Kazensteins as my moral guidepost as to what is appropriate conduct. If I'm continually telling you how stupid and ridiculous they are, I don't understand the notion of saying, well, that's what they would be doing, so that's what we're doing, because I'm continually telling you how backward their perspectives are. So if their perspectives are really backward, the JoJos from Jerseys, their perspectives are taughted. So why would I say, well, that's what they would be doing? I'm not trying to be anything like them because I think that they're taughted. So that doesn't make any sense. Instead, I have my own moral clarity, which frankly comes from my religion. And I'll tell you this, I pray every day. I pray every day for God to protect the righteous and to punish the wicked. And I don't pray, and I don't want to see man's intervention. I want the righteous to be protected, and I want the wicked to be punished. I certainly think that Joe Biden is a very wicked man. Does that mean that I celebrate when I see something terrible happening to him? I'm not like going to be like dancing a jig. I'm certainly not praying for that guy. No, this is a person who is a very, very terribly corrupt, evil person, in my opinion. I think he's a terrible man. I think he's a terrible man who was corrupt, power hungry, and damaged this country in a way that his compatriots are bending over backwards to try and make a permanent damage to this country. We see that in that he let in all of these illegal aliens. And when we're trying to just say, hey, send them home now, they're fighting us tooth and nail, even if they're the worst criminals on earth. So he, or the circle he put around himself, it probably was not him, but the circle he put around himself created a disaster for America for their own personal benefit, and have basically brought in a plague down where it's like we're going bankrupt because of it. We don't have proper health or education services to provide for the influx here. It's designed to basically try and dilute your vote and your dollar. So making us poorer and less safe, more difficult to get a job, and in general, just and overall less secure. And it's all because of that guy and the people he put around him. Literally fighting individual states when they were trying to close the border, taking them to court saying you can't close the border, lying to the people saying that, hey, the reason the border is so open is because the Republicans won't let me pass this stupid, ridiculous bill I want to pass, which would necessarily require the border remain open forever. Gaslighting, lying, and making this, and in the process, making America a crappier place to live. A poorer country, a more dangerous country, not vetting some of the most dangerous folks on earth from coming in here, creating an invasion. That's what he did. It's not on his watch that it happened. He enabled it. Create apps to expedite the process. All the while saying that you and me, we are the biggest threat to America. All the while saying that we are domestic terrorists. All the while demonizing parents who had the audacity to go to school board meetings saying, hey, I don't want my little kid reading stories about Timmy engaging in explicit sexual activity with his teacher and the like. All the while trying to sick the FBI on those people. Okay? That's this guy right here. That's him. That's him. A terribly, terribly evil, vile person. And I'm very relieved that whatever he's suffering does not come from a human hand, but it's God. God said, here's prostate cancer for you. I'm very, very relieved. I would be much more bothered if this was a political enemy who took a pot shot at him, because I think political violence is terrible, and I never would endorse that. but God hitting him with prostate cancer, stage 4, metastasizing to his bone, the suffering and the humiliation for this guy who bled our country while labeling us the enemies, labeling you and me the enemies, standing up there in these ridiculous speeches saying how we're the enemies and sicking the FBI on us, silencing us. No. I'm not making a little party and blowing horns and huzzah, yay. But I would be a hypocrite if I did not tell you that I pray for wicked people to be punished because it helps us have a better appreciation of God. That justice is not reserved for the world to come, but that we can actually see glimmers of it here. So, yeah, I think that I'm inwardly very comfortable with this. Very, very comfortable with this. So yeah, I think it's not I think I know he's an evil person. He's a corrupt person who surrounded himself with corrupt people and then went around blasting us as if we were the disease in this country while bringing in disaster for our country. And I'm sorry. So to say that I should be praying for him, or I should be weeping for him, or shedding a tear, or ripping my sackcloth, saying, "Oh God, please save." No, nothing. I can't. I think it would be hypocritical for me to take that stance when that's literally. This is one example. He's not, the only wicked person on earth, but I think he's a wicked person. He is. He's a wicked person. So if something terrible happens to a wicked person, I'm not sitting here saying anything other than like, okay. I wish he would have been a less wicked person. On the way out the door, just covering the tracks of everyone around him with the pardons and stuff. Terrible human being. Terrible. And I really feel like I would be two-faced to even try to present a different perspective. But if you disagree with me on this, that doesn't make me right and you wrong. I'm telling you where I'm coming from. I could potentially be, talked into this. Again, I think it's in poor taste to say, be celebrating. I think that's in poor taste. I also, I just, and I also have that whole karma thing. I'll just be like, Biden's got cancer. I feel like Drago. I'm like, in my brain, I'm like, if he dies, he dies. And that's ultimately God's decision. We know he's not going to get justice. We know we're not going to be able to see him in a court of law. That's never going to happen. They dropped the Robert Hurt tapes this week. I mean, I haven't heard them yet, but I'm sure that they show him for the addled old man that he was. He's never facing a court of law. So what's left? What's left? The only thing left is God's justice. I don't know. That's my take on it. That's what I got for you. Had he stayed in the race, we might have had an F president in a year. Yeah, that's true. Also, where you been, Drop Eric? I haven't seen you in ages. Ironically, bridges are just as effective as walls in stopping Mexico. Oh, no. Oh, my God. All right, if you were saving up for this one for a while, well done. Well played, sir. Well played indeed. Zing. Oh, my God. Oh, the horror. Oh, the humanity. Oh, the humanity. Let me see if I can find that clip in case some of you don't know. In case some of you may not know. Let me see if I can find that clip for you. I'm going to see if I can find it. Let me see so we can look at it together. Oh. That one I feel. That was genuinely a tragedy.
To the Brooklyn Bridge.
Oh, that's not a good video of it. This is from the Mexican Navy. I don't know what they were doing here either.
Are you crazy? You're fucking. You fucking, you bloody bastard, bitch, you.
This is not a good version. Let me find you a better version. It's got Steven's voiceover on it. There we go. I assume that's people up there. Looks like people to me. I don't know how you it's like, how do you not real terrible Drop Barracuda's got jokes. It wasn't me, it was Drop Barracuda. Don't blame me, that was Drop. If he had this a while, they didn't treat him for appearance's sake, probably without his knowledge. Why I think they probably did treat him, but they just never told us about it. I think they probably think they were treating him. You can't joke about that. Why everything is funny, nothing is sacred, and we're all in this together. Finding healing through humor on sensitive topics. Kat Timpf, who lost her mom to cancer. I lost my mom to cancer too. I did. My mom died of leukemia 10 years ago, 10 and a half years ago. And anyone who wants to joke about it, I will not. Anyone who wants to joke about it, okay. Why would that bother me? Why would that bother me? They're not joking about everyone who's ever had cancer, right? I mean, they're joking about him. So, yeah, cancer sucks. It does. Cancer sucks. So if someone's making a joke about Joe Biden, like I said, you're not going to hear me say anything of that kind. But if someone else is making a joke, I'm like, I got it. He's a wicked man. He's a terrible human being. Joe, follow me so I can send you DMs. My surgery 2 weeks ago has yielded me a CA diagnosis. I'm Kimmy Guy. You asked so nicely. I like how you asked so nicely. Fine. Let me find Kimmy Guy. Kimmy Guy. There she is. Boom. There you go. I don't know what a CI diagnosis is. I hope that's positive. And if it is, congratulations. I don't know what a CA diagnosis means, but you're up and you're back up and watching, so that's a good. I guess that's a good sign. And I pray for only good for you. Box Fort defendants. So that's what a triple mastectomy looks like. Oh my God. Happy Cinco de Mexico, I guess. Oh my gosh. Wow. People got jokes. Let me see if I can actually see what's happening over in Rumble. Because last time I couldn't see anything on Rumble. And I was very bothered by it. No. Okay. Why is it that I cannot get... I need to see chat, and I can't see chat. I don't get live chat now. I don't know why. This is really, really, really bothering me. I need to fix this. I apologize. I don't know why it is. Why? I can't see ya. I don't. Now I see it. Okay, finally. Oh my God. That's making me crazy. Okay. Bob Loves Alaska says, how long after Biden's gone that Hunter does a tell-all book about his dad for huge bucks? It's in production now. It's in production now. I question if this is a real diagnosis, Denise Ann says. I don't wish ill on him, but I am not going to mourn him. Yeah. Yeah. I think that I'm sorry. Like, is he not a wicked person? Am I crazy for saying he's a I think he's a wicked person. I genuinely believe he's a wicked person. I do want to talk with you about Dan and Kash. There's no chat and locals available. Let me remedy that. That's possibly true. That actually sounds familiar. Let me fix that up. All right, that's remedied. Chat is open now. I apologize for that. Okay, that was me. I'm getting a lot of this. He's evil. He's evil. I don't pray for people like Joe. I pray for his victims. No sympathy for the devil. Embodiment of hell on earth. He is wicked. Very wicked. Yeah. So. All right. Let's talk about Dan Bongino and that whole thing. I don't know why I lost. Oh, here it is. This is Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, head of the FBI and deputy director of the FBI and deputy director of the FBI. Whose works? Joe or Joe? They were all evil. Didn't matter who was doing it. Who's worse? Who's worse? I blame Joe. I don't think Jill's necessarily far behind, but I blame Joe. All right. This is what I wanted to watch with you here. Because we need to have a conversation about Dan and Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. I have a lot of problems with this.
You said Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. People don't believe it.
Well, I mean, listen, they have a right to their opinion, but as someone who has worked as a public defender, as a prosecutor who's...
How's that relevant? Public defender, prosecutor, how's that relevant?
Been in that prison system, who's been in the Metropolitan Detention
I'll let it play,
Center,
and then we'll review.
who's been in segregated housing. You know a suicide when you see one, and that's what that was.
He killed himself. You want me to? I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
I know it's hard work. You said Jeffrey Epstein.
What does hard work have to do with anything? What does that mean? I know it's hard work. That's an edit. We just got an edit. We got one more time.
Committed suicide. People don't believe it.
Well, I mean, listen, they have a right to their opinion, but as someone who has worked as a public defender, as a prosecutor who's been in that prison system, who's been in the Metropolitan Detention Center, who's been in segregated housing, you know a suicide when you see one, and that's what that was.
He killed himself. You want me to? I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
I know it's hard work.
What do we do with these guys? What do we do with this? What do we do with that? I'll ask this question. If Dan Bongino was still a podcaster and he saw the director and the FBI director saying that, would he be like, well, I guess he killed himself? I respectfully submit to you that Dan Bongino himself, if he was watching Dan Bongino and Kash Patel giving that, would just be dissecting it and breaking it down and saying, this is crap. This is complete garbage. This is ridiculous. The whole explanation. Okay, so once you get past them making the statements, let's break this down. We're going to break this down together. Okay? I'm going to do a little body language work here.
People don't believe it.
Well,
so as soon as she brings it up, he laughs. Kash laughs.
Epstein committed suicide. People don't believe it.
well, I mean, listen, they have a right to their opinion.
Stop right there. They have a right to their opinion. What does that even mean? That basically is saying I'm superior, I know more because I'm a public defender, as he's about to explain. I'm a prosecutor, public defender, so I know more. That's not a basis to know more. A basis to know more would be like what's in the files, right? That would be a basis. But it doesn't even say, I've gone through the files. Why are you talking down to us? You have access to information that we do not have access to because you've been put in this position. You are the person I championed personally and said, please make sure this guy gets confirmed. That if people were going to stand in his way, they should be primaried because he is the people's choice. I labeled him the potentially the most significant appointment any president has ever made. This guy. And we are now May 18th. And he's coming out here and saying, I'm a public prosecutor. I've been a prosecutor, a public defender. I know it's suicide when I see one. What? And please be aware, I do not endorse anyone ever engaging in self-harm. No one should ever self-harm. If you're thinking about self-harm, please get help. And I mean that 100% seriously. But he's like, I know best. Those positions don't enable you to have a better idea as to whether or not someone committed Harry. And I don't understand why you're throwing that out there to try and basically elevate yourself, not on the fact that you saw the file or what the files actually say. Tell us what is written in the file that makes you lead to this conclusion, because we haven't seen the file. You have. This is so disheartening to me. I find it personally disheartening because I'm like, now I cannot trust you. I cannot trust you. It just took, you could have, if you were silent, I could have trusted you. How am I supposed to trust you? Where are the indictments? Now I start asking, where are the indictments? Where the heck are the indictments? That's what I start asking now. You want to come out here and start telling me that I know this when I see it. I know it when I see it. I can't tell you what I've seen to help corroborate that. Can't. I'm not going to tell you that. I know you have 1,000 questions. I know you have 10,000 questions that anyone who has half a brain would be asking, but I've seen it. You're entitled to your opinion, your uninformed opinion, but I'm more informed. Why am I more informed? I'm not more informed because I looked at the files. I'm more informed because I've been a public defender and a prosecutor. This is offensive. This is offensive. This is spitting in our eye. All the people who cheered for you, all the people who were like me, I was very overt in my support for Kash Patel, saying no one else is as good for this job as Kash Patel. Nobody. And he comes out here on TV and he gives me this stupid lip service of like, hey, you have to take my word for it. You're entitled to your opinion, but you have to take my word for it. It's wrong. It's wrong. And I'm going to talk down to you because you've never been a public defender, as if that makes him more capable of interpreting what it says in a file.
But as someone who has worked as a public defender, as a prosecutor, who's been in that prison system, who's been in the Metropolitan Detention Center, who's been in segregated housing, a suicide.
Look at Dan's face here. He looks about as compelling in what he's about to say as Amber Heard on the stand.
When you see one, and that's what that was.
I almost wonder, like, who is holding a gun off camera? Ain't trained on their heads. Like off camera, it's like, are there children, like are there kids, like, who are, like, have the bandana stuffed in their mouth and, like, with guns trained, like their offspring? What is happening here? Look at Dan Bongino.
He killed himself.
It does a little. If you look closely at the corner of his mouth over here, you could see it's sort of like I don't believe what I'm saying. I don't believe what I'm saying.
Himself.
That's the little mouth shrug in the corner there. Of, like, this is what I have to tell you. That's the little micro expression there.
A suicide when you see one, and that's what that was.
He killed himself. You want me to get? I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
Even shaking his head no while saying yes. Look at a little head bobble no while saying yes.
He killed himself.
What's that? What's that? Like a 10th grader would see that this is just ridiculous. 10th grader would see it's ridiculous to come to this conclusion. And then they would even see the body language of, like, shaking his head no while saying yes. He did that. What is happening here? This is Kash, Patel, and Dan Bongino. Name me two people from who are voices of MAGA more trusted than Kash and Dan. Tell me who they are, because I can't come up with names. It's not Pam Bondi. It's not Pam Bondi. Tell me who's more trusted. Who do we have left? Who do we have left to believe in now? Here's what happened. Okay, I want you to know what happened and why this is significant. All the heroes of MAGA died right there. I mean, obviously, Trump, okay, fine. He's more MAGA than these two are more MAGA than anyone I would put both of them top 5. And they come up here with this nonsense, talking down to us of, like, well, you're entitled to your opinion, but I've been a public defender. Step back. All the questions as far as what happened to security cameras. 2 security cameras are out. Why is it that when the guy is on a specialized watch because he had tried harming himself in the past, and that's gone? All the security guards who were missing just go AWOL on us. No one's watching him. The fact that he has a jawline fracture, which they say that of his, I think it's called the hyaline bone of his jaw, which they say would require 300 pounds of pressure in order to break. Snapped. That even if a guy who weighed, 2.25, would have jumped off from the top of the bed there and jumped down, impossible to snap that bone. You know how it snaps? It snaps if someone who weighs a couple hundred pounds is tugging down your feet, grab you around the waist, and just sort of like jumps up and, like, holds on to Jeffrey while his neck is in a noose. So all of a sudden now it's not 200 pounds of pressure, it's 400 pounds of pressure. That's how a neck snaps. That's how the jawline snaps. Impossible to do that yourself. Dan Bongino is going to come out and tell us, no evidence. No evidence. Oh, there's no evidence. There's no evidence at all. This is his written statement. Written statement. What did it say? What am I supposed to say? These are the heroes of the right. These are the heroes of MAGA. Flat out telling us, don't believe your lying eyes. This is they're screaming, let's go, Brandon. That's what we're hearing here. This is fiery but mostly peaceful. But it's coming from Dan Bongino. I haven't done any media interviews to this point because I want to keep the attention on the work. I'm so noble. I need to keep the attention on the work while I lie to you. I don't work for myself anymore. I work for you. You were working more for us before you were in public office. You were working a lot more for us before you were in public office. It's important to relay to you what we're doing. The media can be a tool for that. That's why we chose a long-form interview with Maria Bartiromo for our first interview. I hope you saw it. If you missed it, here are some of the questions that were asked and answered. Yes, we are moving FBI headquarters out of the Hoover building. The process has already begun. Stay tuned for updates on the details and timelines. I'd like to believe you on that, but you shattered your credibility today. Shattered it. Shattered. I was asked about some of the details around the Jeffrey Epstein case. I've reviewed the case. Epstein killed himself. There's no evidence. There's no evidence in the case file indicating otherwise. Oh, that's nice. Oh, so you're saying that the sanitized case file doesn't spell it out for you? So this is the conclusion? We're done? We're done here. Well, the file doesn't, nowhere in the file does it say Hillary did it. So it must be that he really did do it. There's no evidence. I'm not asking you to believe me or not. I'm telling you what exists and what doesn't. If new evidence surfaces, I'm happy to reevaluate. Where's this new evidence going to come from? You see, here's what you should be telling us, okay? When we look at the files, there's nothing there, but we have a lot of questions, a great number of questions, a serious number of questions, things that don't add up, that don't make any sense. How he conveniently seemed to know when there was no security cameras on to actually go forward with the act, or how he conveniently seemed to know when there were people who were not going to be watching him even though he's on watch. And here's what we have learned so far. Here are the different agencies that were controlling him. Here's the name of his handler. Here's why he got a sweetheart deal in 2007 when he was first arrested and these stories first came to public light. Here's where he got his money from. This is the USAID package where they shipped over $6 billion to him. So he can basically sit there working as an operative for CIA, FBI, MI6, Mossad. I don't know who. Maybe all of them. I don't know. I have no idea. You don't know. None of us know. What we know is that he's definitely very, very connected. Here are all the political figures he was blackmailing. Here's what happened to those blackmail tapes. That's a report. And all the evidence we have so far is all designed to corroborate the claim that it was self-inflicted. And we're struggling to find more evidence that proves otherwise, but we have these questions which remain unanswered, and we're going to keep digging until we get answers. That's what I wanted Kash Patel there for. That's what I wanted Dan Bongino for. That's what you wanted them there for. That's why we wanted people who are going to be straight with us, not to sit there, look into a camera and be like, oh, okay, these are the people who are so widely trusted by MAGA that like sucklings, they're going to sit there and just swallow and lap up whatever these two schmoes throw at them. This is so bothersome to me. It's so bothersome to me because the deep levels of trust that you and I have placed specifically in those two individuals has been shattered and can never, ever, ever, ever be made back into whole again. Never. So now when I see this, when I see this third paragraph of this thing here, I'm like, I don't believe the second paragraph anymore. I don't believe you anymore. Because I see that you're very comfortable telling me whatever it is that you think I'm going to swallow. So I can't believe you anymore. They say that for newlyweds, if you're newlywed, that inevitably every couple at some point is going to fight. Okay? Every couple is going to fight. Fortunately, never me and Lady Lawgic. 0 fights in 26 years. Is that 0, right? See? Every couple has had their disagreements. But there's certain lines you don't cross. Certain lines you don't cross. One of the pieces of advice I got before I got married is no matter how upset or how furious you ever may be, this is what the advice they give to all Jewish newlyweds. They say never use the D word. Never. You never yell the word divorce and outrage. Because once you throw that out there, it is forever planted in her brain. And you can't undo it. There's no undoing it. And that's what I feel like this is right here. The credibility, as far as my ability to just blanketly trust that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are working for you and me is shattered in this paragraph right here and that stupid interview they did with Maria Bartiromo. And they specifically chose Maria Bartiromo. You want to know why they chose her? Because she's the most trusted person from Fox News by MAGA. She's one of the few people who you sit there and you're like, oh, okay, she's pretty much the most MAGA-esque that's left in Fox News, certainly since they got rid of Tucker. She's the most trusted voice there. And now they have her on camera there trying to sell, and at least she had the good sense to basically say, to frame it as, people don't believe you. They don't believe you. And why don't they believe you? It's because we have none of these answers. There's no answers to all these questions. All these questions about the source of his money. All the questions about his connections that enabled him to get that ridiculous sweetheart deal from Acosta. All his questions about how that day, that evening, when he turned up dead, which a lot of people even ask questions whether that was him in the cell. I'm not going down that rabbit hole, but I can understand they say they look at close-ups of the ear and this and that, and maybe it's not him, maybe it's someone else. Hey, I don't even need to go down that road. You've never heard me raise that whole speculation, but it is out there. There is speculation out there that that's not even Jeffrey Epstein we saw in the cell. But you don't need to get into like the furthest reaches of conspiracy, the furthest realms of the Q folk to say that this doesn't make any sense. How he got to the position he was in, how he was able to dance around and do this, engage in this perverse, ridiculous, awful type of conduct and destroy the lives of hundreds of underage girls. Hundreds of them. How he was able to get away with that for as long as he did without having these triple letter agencies be like, what's going on here? If he wasn't being controlled by someone with the inherent blessing of United States government agencies. And you want to come out here and tell us this idiocy? You want to come out here, Kash, and say, "Oh, well, I've been a prosecutor."
Committed suicide. People don't believe it.
Well, I mean, listen, they have a right to their opinion, but as someone who has worked as a public defender, as a prosecutor who's been in that prison system.
Who cares that you've been in that prison system? Who cares you've been a prosecutor or public defender? How is that relevant? Other than to try and say, how dare you question me when I have this CV that you don't have? So you have no basis to question me. Which is everything we've hated about the left. It's everything we've hated about the establishment. And that's what this guy comes out and says. This person, who I'm embarrassed to admit I was championing as being perhaps the most significant, I may not even use the word perhaps, most significant appointment in American history. And less than 4 months after he gets there, he's coming out here with this idiocy, talking down to us that he's the person who is the best CV. And if you can have your own opinion, but you're certainly stupider than I am because I have look at my resume. Is your resume as fluffed up as mine is? Why would you even be saying that? Why would you even be saying that unless it's a way of saying, shut up and just trust what I'm taking you and spit it back to the public so everyone can finally put this thing to rest? This is offensive
who's been in the Metropolitan Detention Center, who's been in segregated housing. You know a suicide when you see one, and that.
No, I you know what? I do. And this wasn't one. See, that's the thing.
That's what that was.
No, that's what it definitely was not. That's what it definitely was not. Why would you not come out and say, here are the questions we still have left to be answered? Why is Maria Bartiromo asking that question? Because she's sullied in this whole mess too. Because they're using her as the mouthpiece to try selling what these two idiots are telling us. And they're not stupid people. No, they're not. I'll tell you right now. There were good reasons why you and I had trust in Kash, Patel, and Dan Bongino. Because they do have exceptional resumes. Because they did speak from a populist type of perspective. Because they were throwing shade at the establishment and saying, hey, there's a lot of garbage going on there and it needs to be cleaned up. But as soon as they got there, instead of actually like chucking them out, it's like they just dove headfirst into it. Like, oh, I'm one of you. It's awful. There's no heroes left. What do you think happened to them? What happened? What would lead a Kash Patel who's writing his mobsters of DC? Capitol Hill Mobsters, whatever his book was called. Stupid book. It's all a scam. I feel like I've been scammed. I feel like these two scammed me. This is a very depressing day because it makes me question if these two can be so quickly turned into Swiss cheese full of hot air garbage. These two people who we looked at as being heroes of MAGA for years, spent less than 4 months in DC and boom, are trying to sell us on this hot garbage and say, trust me, and you're too stupid to know as much as I do. How is it, who can clean it up? Who? This is like the last hope we had. I don't know how this can't be fixed. If not them, who? And it's clearly not going to be them. That's what they told me today. So no, you did not convince me that Epstein was self-induced. You just convinced me today, gentlemen, that I can no longer trust you. Congratulations on that. Maybe the evidence was only supporting that. Kash saw that what was presented to them as evidence. I still trust them to get the job done. I wish I could have the same trust as you. I don't trust them at all anymore. One day, it took 5 minutes for them to shatter that trust. Just like a new husband using the divorce word. It just shattered. How can I have trust in them? If they were telling me that, hey, what's in the file looks like this, but we still have tons of questions. But that's not what was worded here. That's not what he wrote. That's not what Dan Bongino wrote. He said, if new evidence surfaces, where is new evidence? What year did he die? What year? What was it? 20? Let me check this out. Where's it going to come to you? Is Deep Throat going to show up and be like, we got the file, the real file on Epstein? Where was the new evidence coming from? Doesn't sound like they're looking for it because they said there's no evidence. Oh, well, oh, no evidence. What can we do? You're the FBI. You know what you got to do? Like Elliot Ness. You get like, if you were really serious about it. Okay, here are my 6 trusted compadres. And everyone else, I don't trust you. You have to earn my trust. These are my 6, and they're going to be digging into this until we get to the bottom of this. That's what you do. You make it like the Untouchables. That's what you need to do. But that's not what's happening. August 10, 2019. August 10, 2019. New evidence is going to come up. Hey, 6 years later. Brand new. Oh, look at this. Look at this. File got stuck behind the cabinet over here. It's laying it all out. Here's the name of the shooter. If new evidence shows up, I'll tell you right now. After what they wrote today, I think if new evidence managed to magically show up, I think they'd throw it in a shredder. That's how little I trust them right now. I think they'd throw it in a shredder. This is the exact opposite of what we were looking for. You might as well have Fay Ray in there running the FBI. Get Chris Ray back. Bring back Chris Ray, because I'd rather not have my heart broken by seeing Kash Patel throw this garbage at me. My heart's broken. It really is. It really is, because these are people I put confidence and stock in and trust in. These are people I told you to have confidence in. And I feel betrayed. That's what I'm feeling tonight. I'm feeling betrayal. Because we put you there and we screamed for you to get that job. Because this is the sort of garbage that we were tired of hearing from DC. And here's the thing. If somehow, some way, let's assume that you and I, who believe that Epstein was not self-induced, let's just deal with a hypothetical here. Let's assume that one way or another, we're wrong. One way or another, we are wrong. And they're actually telling us the truth today. Let's pretend, just in a hypothetical world, okay? Hypothetical world. If that is true, A, you would be showing us the files. B, you would be talking and addressing these specific concerns and questions that people have. And walking through that, I know you're wondering about the pounds of pressure on the jaw. But we actually were, like, when we did a reconstruction, we were able to figure out that this is why, even though he weighs 150 pounds too little to snap his jaw, this is how it could have happened in this type of scenario. I know you have questions about how he got all that money. This is what we found as far as how he got that money. I know you have questions about his connections to the FBI, the CIA, the Mossad. Here is what we know so far. We think this is incomplete. We think there's more to find out. Don't tell me case closed, which is what they're certainly implying there. Case closed, unless someone sticks their head out and says, hey, I got more information for you. In which case, I would tell you, if you do have information about what happened with Epstein, and you came to me and you said, hey, I'm thinking about going to the FBI and talking to the FBI about it, I would tell you, go home. Don't do it. You're probably going to get hurt. I don't trust these people. I don't trust them. They're going to bury it. That's how badly, in one day, because they didn't answer these questions. They pretend these questions aren't staring everyone in the face. And they talk down to us instead, almost as if to say, how dare you question me? I'm feeling betrayed. I'm feeling outraged. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling so much just why? How did this happen? How deep is the corruption in DC that it took less than 4 months for the two most vaunted representatives of MAGA to just go complete 180? We're now establishment shills. How deep is it? How poisonous is the DC well? I struggle to think that they were always just full of hot garbage. So I have to assume that they got poisoned after they got there. But now I feel as if they're too deeply poisoned. And I'm very disappointed because I'm like, so we're never going to get justice. I can't trust them for anything. It's a very black day. It's a black day for MAGA because we have Trump in the White House. We have the figures that we wanted overseeing these agencies. I don't believe anything. What am I supposed to believe? I'm opening my phone lines. If you tell me what you think I can trust now, tell me what you think I can trust now. Tell me how you think this can ever be remedied. How could this possibly be remedied? So livid. It's like the curtain being pulled back on the Wizard of Oz. It's awful. And this is the point I was making. Let's say he did. Let's say that I'm 100% wrong. And the countless scores of the people who are watching, countless hundreds of you who are watching, and thousands, if not millions of people who think that we were lied to by them. Let's say we are all wrong, which is definitely a possibility. It's definitely possible. Let's assume that there's only a 7% chance that he actually did the harm to himself, and that 7% happens to be here, and there's just one crazy, ridiculous, like, wow, how did that possibly happen type of coincidence after another, which led to this actually unfolding that he managed to off himself. Let's say you're correct, Freedom Ring. Why would you not, Kash Patel, why would you not, Dan Bongino, come out and say, we're still left with all these questions about the Epstein case? Because everything about the tone of this message is, go away, the case is over, unless new evidence pops up. What about all the other questions we have, like how he amassed his billions of dollars? How did he get Wexner to turn over all the control of Victoria's Secret money to him? What about getting justice from, I don't know, the royal family, which was abusing American underage girls? What about that? Getting justice for Virginia Giuffre. How about prosecuting that? We see any of that? How hard is it to come up with a case like on that? Why can we not get him? We got pictures of him with Virginia Giuffre when she was underage. Why not? I want to understand. Why is it we can't know how he had the connections to get the most amazing sweetheart deal in the world? I want you to understand what Acosta from the Sun District of Florida, he was the prosecutor overseeing that case. The deal, Alex Acosta, I think that's his name. The deal that he gave Jeffrey Epstein in 2007, when they had this treasure trove of videotapes and surveillance, all this different evidence that he was abusing hundreds of underage girls. And he says the deal he ends up pleading guilty to gave him 2 years in federal penitentiary, exemption for all his crimes, exemption for all the crimes of Ghislaine Maxwell, and a third person. I think her name was Jane, but I'm not sure off the top of my head. And a third party. The name came up during the Maxwell trial, but I forgot it. So he and 2 of his cohorts getting complete immunity. 2 years, not even in federal pen. Work visit. Go home during the day, wake up in the morning, work from home, do whatever you want, come back, sleep here at night, which ended up being for like a year and a half. How it is that he did such horrible, terrible crimes, and that was the punishment he got. That was the deal that the government signed off on. That, oh yeah, that's a good deal. Let's get him to sign this. How he got that deal? Who was involved? Because that had to be that he had connections to the FBI. So if you're Kash Patel and you're Dan Bongino and you're going to go to DC to clean up DC, that's what we're going to do. You say DC is a swamp. We're going to clean it up. Why don't you say, hey, here's all the ugliness that the FBI, CIA, MI6, and or Mossad were all involved in. And this is how we got an Alex Acosta. This is how we got Jeffrey Epstein. You don't just say no evidence. You say, hey, there's no evidence that he did this to himself. But if you want to know more about the Epstein story, here's the stuff that the government's been hiding from you about the Epstein story for the last 15 years. That's how you unleash this. That's how you tell that. That's how you inform us and say, I know you all think when you see this that he didn't do it to himself, that there was someone there, but there's really no evidence for it. But this is the evidence we have found as far as what the whole actual Jeffrey Epstein story is. Not just pretend that everything here is, oh, well, just a regular run-of-the-mill guy. He just, he had some sick tastes and he never really got prosecuted. No one ever really got justice for it. And he happened to just, end his own life. And he happened to end up with billions of dollars in his account and his own private island and stuff like that. That no one knows how he got his money. How are you not running the money trail and telling us this is how he got his money? Because a lot of people assume there's blackmail involved. Exactly. Nothing to see here. Move along. Everyone just move along. There's a teeny tiny chance, 0.5% chance that Tweedledee and Tweedledum are playing the Bobbsey twins to protect their cover as the Hardy Boys. That's a hell of an operation. If that ends up proving true, I will eat my words and I will apologize as profusely as I've been excoriating them throughout this stream. See Clinton vid Trump posted on Truth? No. Now I gotta find it though. Scrolling through, see if I can find it. I don't know how far it's supposed to go. How far back? I'm already a day ago. Now I'm 2 days ago. I don't know. You can send it to me on X. Probably be faster. Plus CA change plus say the meme chose. Yeah, plus got changed. I don't know. I have a feeling that you're saying the more things change, the more they stay the same in French. That's my best guess. If Torrin would have been amazing FBI, I don't know who that is. And the Senate can ask for the Epstein question out of the blue. It doesn't fit in the conversation. Tells me it was a test, so Ken Starr is suspect too. I don't know who. Why is that not understanding anything I'm seeing here? Bella Stella, God bless you. Bringing in 10 new followers to the following. We need that. We need this because at a time when the world seems bleak, and it seems bleak tonight, we need more followers. We need more people in the following. We have to circle the wagon, bring everyone in, bring them in. Finally, 10 people brought in here. Stoffel and Freedom Ring. Look at that. Tina Lewis, Luna Doom, Bob Jones. What if any welding? Jeremiah Jordan, Patrick Murillo, Cornelius Day, and Kellen, all of them brought in courtesy of Queen of Recruitment. All hail the Queen. In case you're unaware, you might not be aware, I am not the leader of the following. I'm just the host. I'm the host. The leader does. I am not at all the leader of the following. And the following is also not at all a cult, type of cult. I should get Dan Bongino and Kash Patel to tell you that, because that would be more compelling. The convention was posted yesterday. Video Hillary Clinton doesn't want you to see. Posted yesterday. This is. I just noticed this while I was scrolling back. Has anyone noticed that since I said I hate Taylor Swift, she's no longer hot? I do still love Donald. I still love me some Donald. Oh, he's funny. I'm scrolling back up here. We'll see if I can find it. I'll try to find it on X. So maybe it'll be faster. Let me do a search on X.
Remember John F.
Here it is. There, I think I found it.
Remember John F. Kennedy Jr.? He was declared the front-runner for the New York Senate seat back in 1999. Days later, his plane crashed into the Atlantic Ocean, and his rival, Hillary Clinton, was elected senator. Mary Mahoney was a Clinton White House intern. She knew enough of the inner workings of Bill's sexual advancements to be a star witness during the Clinton impeachment trials. She was brutally executed at a Starbucks she was managing in 1997. In 1993, White House counsel Vince Foster was found dead in Fort Marcy Park near D.C. He supposedly killed himself, and among a lengthy list of potential foul play, the bullet was never found. Then there's James McDougal, a key witness for White House prosecutors. He was serving his 3-year sentence for bank fraud at the Fort Worth Federal Medical Center in Texas. And just before he was to give a testimony before the grand jury, McDougal suffered a heart attack in solitary confinement. In 2015, Walter Scheib, a White House chef hired under Bill Clinton, joined the list. His body was found at the bottom of a river, nearly 2 miles from the base of the trail he was reportedly hiking. An autopsy determined that Scheib's death was accidental drowning, but he might have known too much. 27-year-old Democratic National Committee staffer Seth Rich was shot and killed in D.C. this year. There is speculation that he was the source of the controversial leaked emails allegedly sent by DNC staffers, and that he may have been murdered in retaliation. Then Sean Lucas, the lead attorney in a fraud case against the DNC, was found lying on the bathroom floor by his girlfriend when she returned home on August 2nd. His death was reported classified, pending the results of an autopsy. To this day,
Yeah. I I spent a night, maybe even 2 or 3 years ago, where I was going through these different videos which were breaking down how even before the Clintons made it to Washington, when he was still a governor, people went missing and people started dying. And yeah, this is something I think I counted, it was well over 50 people who just somehow went missing. So yeah, if she gets prostate cancer, let's face it, that's probably a possibility. Am I supposed to be weeping for her too? Sent the link on X. Thank you, brother. Our president posted this on his account. That's our president. That's our guy. That's our guy. That's also my Bill Clinton voice. Correct on the translation. Thank you. My French. Think tactically, Joe. Bad guys watch TV too. This is in support of the claim that they haven't really stopped investigating. They're just giving that as their public front while they do some sort of Elliot Ness Untouchables thing to go after whoever's behind the Epstein. Okay. They probably. I think Dan Bongino would look less uncomfortable lying if he knew he was part of some operation. Just saying. They want us to keep the blackmail op world. Leaders are involved. Maxwell got off easy, and so will Diddy. Comey daughter, prosecutor. It's all corrupt. So I was talking about this with Viva earlier tonight. And I was talking about this on Spaces. And I'm going to start addressing this now. Okay? Let me get this out of the way. All right? There's countless tapes, which supposedly include many different people. You all know I'm covering the Diddy trial on a daily basis. I can only report to you that which is there in this trial. And that's what's here in this trial does feel like it's purposeful. There are 5 charges here. Those 5 charges are RICO, and it's RICO that's supported by trafficking, Cassie. That's the second charge. Third charge is trafficking Jane, which is a pseudonym for some single mom who was treated supposedly similar to how Cassie was treated. We haven't heard any testimony from her. And then 2 counts for transporting escorts interstate for the purposes of engaging in illegal activity of a sexual nature. Those are our 5 counts. If you look at, and that's what they said, is like for the purposes of these freak-offs, they brought these people in interstate. We already heard about some of them. There was a guy, Dave, who was flown in from Vegas, brought to California. We already heard about some of this. Although they said that there were 2 porn stars, like male porn stars, who were brought in. If you think, and the RICO charges are based on all the crimes that were designed to help facilitate and cover up charges 2, 3, 4, and 5. Meaning, that's the whole story we're going to hear in this trial. We're going to hear about those 2 women and the 2 men who were brought in to facilitate this activity, and the RICO charges that circumvent all the activities and claims that there was a whole criminal enterprise to enable Diddy to feed this fetish of his. This entire trial has been portrayed as Cassie versus Diddy. And rightfully so. I guess it's Cassie and Jane versus Diddy. The nature of these charges is chosen by the prosecutor. The prosecutor here is Maureen Comey. There are a lot of charges that supposedly could have been brought that have not been brought. Because they're not brought, there's not going to be any evidence, not any testimony about other stuff that he's involved in. The other stuff that people say he's involved in is that he used to have these massive parties, which were called freak-offs, which is not the way freak-offs are defined during the course of this current trial. At the start, in opening statements, we got a definition of what a freak-off is. And as far as this jury knows, and anyone following this trial knows, the definition of a freak-off is basically Diddy as a voyeur watching some woman who's beholden to him, either of their own choice or because he's compelling them and coercing them, as the state would have us believe, but some woman who's beholden to Diddy performing for him with a third party. sometimes with multiple parties, and that he would sometimes record them and sometimes he wouldn't. And that in between, these freak-offs would go for hours and sometimes days, where he would be sitting there watching, drawing whatever pleasure a sick monster can draw from that. And when when the guy would finish, he would take his girl into a private room, leave the guy behind. One person who testified already so far said he would wait for hours while Diddy was in there in a private room with the girl. He'd be waiting in the lounge room of the suite, sometimes for hours. He said 10 hours sometimes. And sometimes Diddy would abuse them physically while in there, in private. We already heard reports from one person who said he heard Cassie basically sound like she was getting beaten by him in there, and that she came running out, and that she looked like she was a mess, and she was jumped onto his lap like seeking his protection. That's the definition of freak off that we had. That whole scene is definition, which they just call FO for freak off. That's the definition that we who are sitting there as those in the actual jury and we, the journalists who are serving as a secondary type of jury, have for the term freak off. But the term freak off is not new to the American lexicon. We first heard about Diddy's freak offs a year ago. And back then, that was reference to these massive wild parties with tons of people. The whole definition has been changed for purposes of this trial to suit this trial. And perhaps it had multiple types of terms. Maybe Diddy used it in different ways. I don't know. But that was we had one definition, and now we have a brand new definition, which is a lot more sanitized. What I mean when I say sanitized, I mean clean up that, this is just one guy and dealing with 3 or 4 people, or 2 women, or this woman, or that woman, and whatever escorts they brought in that day. As opposed to these wild, for lack of a better word, orgies, which purportedly involved many underage individuals, and also involved purportedly many powerful individuals partaking. Whether these are Hollywood celebs or political figures from DC or some combination thereof, which sounds likely. Is that part of what the RICO charge is about? No. Is that the trafficking or the other trafficking or the interstate transportation, 4 and 5? No. So we're not going to hear anything about that. Why are those not brought as charges? For that, you can look to Maureen Comey. She didn't charge. She could have. She didn't. Which is consistent with what we saw from Maureen Comey in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, where anyone who's powerfully connected, their names are as sanitized and kept out of that Ghislaine Maxwell trial as much as possible. So much so that she was called out by Judge Allison Nathan for sterilizing the flight logs and keeping names off, which would raise eyebrows. Now, so I'll tell you that, yeah, that's all Maureen Comey. Now we're sitting here in the course of the trial, and once we're here with only these charges, only this handful of charges, whereas there probably could have been another 50 charges that were brought for the other stuff. Instead, we have 5, which have nothing to do with any powerful individuals. Nothing. You're not going to hear names of celebrities. The only time we hear it, where did we hear names of celebrities? We hear names of celebrities that, on cross-examination, in order to show that, hey, there are benefits to being Diddy's girlfriend. Cassie was asked, so you got to meet a whole bunch of real famous people, didn't you? Who came to your 29th birthday? Who came to this birthday of yours? Who'd you get to meet? Oh, so there was Austin Dallas was there. Britney Spears was there. Oh, you got to sing and meet other people. Did you perform with Nicki Minaj? Yeah, I performed with Nicki Minaj. Is there anything, but that's in a very sterilized type of conversation, not about anything illicit that those celebrities were engaged in. And that was brought up by the defense and has nothing to do with these particular. It only relates to try and show that Cassie's life was not tortuous, that she was living a life that other people would dream of having. courtesy of being a girlfriend of Diddy. But as far as any illegal activity, anything sickening with respect to involving children, no. Look over there. Look over there. Look over here. Look over here. Look, Diddy's a real monster. Diddy's a real terrible human being. Diddy's very abusive to women. That's what this case is. And you can, and I was really thinking about it, and the reason that should bring you some sort of real outrage is because if you take someone who's a terrible human being, and you only bring up their charges with respect to, like, oh, here's the time they robbed someone, and then meanwhile they butchered 50 people, and we're going to get them on the robbery. It's almost as if you're saying those butcherings that they did don't count, don't matter. It's cheapening them, saying, because then you're going to get him and convict him on the robbery, and say, we got justice. It's like, no, you weren't trying to get justice. You were never trying to get justice, but you want the public to think you got justice. And in that sense, you actually make it worse because you're pretending that those other crimes, those terrible things he did, never happened. You're whitewashing those terrible crimes by screaming, we got justice. That's a terrible thing to do. Has he engaged in actual killing of other people? There was implications to that of that sort. I remember seeing a video which was talking about how there was a body in Diddy's bathroom that somehow just got cleaned up. There were implications through the course of Cassie's testimony that she's seen and knows that if Diddy's not the one pulling the trigger himself, he certainly has assets who will work for or with him, who are willing to take care of that if that is what he feels is necessary. There was an incident that came out on Friday, which came up on cross-examination. There's a guy named Sujit, who during the course of a radio interview or some sort of event that Cassie was at, made reference to the fact that he became aware of certain videos that she was starring in, which were sexually explicit. And that Diddy directed her, do not let that guy out of your sight. And they had a sit down. And there's an audio recording from the sit down. Cassie at the sit down with Sujit in a restaurant where she's yelling at Sujit that she wants to know who's got this video, where is this video, where did you get it from, who's recorded it, I need more information from you, I'm going to kill you, I've never killed anyone before, but I'm going to effing kill you, over and over again. It won't be me doing it, someone else is going to do it, but I'm going to effing kill you, over and over. Clearly she didn't mean that she has assets. Clearly she knew that Diddy had assets like that when she's issuing those threats. So, yeah, there are a lot of implications that Cassie is well aware of these connections that Diddy has, which enable him to end someone's life if he's so inclined, and strong implications that those assets have been called upon. Are there any charges for that? Nope. Why not? I don't know. I can only report to you about what's going on in this trial. So, yeah. I don't remember how I got started talking about this, but I think it was because of something that it was you said Comey's daughter prosecution is all corrupt. Yeah. And that's what beautiful Messy Ball was saying. That's my point. Yeah. When I'm covering Diddy, when I'm here talking, following program viewers' discretion, I sort of like, I'm going to just share with you my heart and feeling and give you my take, my personal views are going to be infused in there. I work really, really hard when I put on my journalist cap and cover a trial to be as fair and just, here's what this side would say, here's what that side would say, whatever. So when I'm talking about Diddy, I'm very well aware of what Maureen Comey is, and that's why I shared that part, which I was like, this feels very sanitized. purposefully sanitized. And I also shared the other side, which is she happens to be a really excellent attorney. She's, as far as the capacity for inside the courtroom, she knows what she's doing, and she's very good at doing what she does. So I do think that she's going to bust her tail to try and get these convictions because she doesn't want to lose. She definitely doesn't want that. When she loses, people are like, well, if you're going to lose, why not bring the other charges up also? Right? So I think she's got a really good chance. I think she's whenever I've seen her in a room, and this is with some of the best lawyers in the world, she's at least as good as them, if not better. That's how, I'm telling you right now, if I had to rank the top 10 attorneys I've seen litigating cases, I would probably put her in there. That's how good she is. She's really good at what she does. She's really good. So specifically, not less so with Cross, I've seen her on direct, and her direct is just exceptional. So, yeah, and that doesn't seem like it's that difficult to skill. She makes it look like art. I was trying to explain to people, normally direct is going to be dry and boring. Dry, boring, and like, and then you're going to work your way, you wade your way into the pool. Not her, no. She like dives right in. Where it's like it captures the audience's attention. It's capturing my attention sitting there in a jury room. It's definitely in a viewing room. It's definitely capturing the jury's attention. Whereas anyone else who's asking it would just sort of be like waiting in there. Anyway, so I do think she's going to get her convictions. I also think that you can't if you sat in that trial last week, you're like, my God, this man's a monster. He's a terrible, terrible man. He's a terrible man. Make sure I didn't miss anything in the ghetto. Troy Sherman says, I got the local situation straight. Now I'm not part of the following. I'm just checking out the following from a cliff. There you go. Spud says, Clintonitis is always fatal, Joe. Apparently. Apparently, it's always fatal. Be careful. Be careful about your Clintonitis. All right. I'm going to take a couple of phone calls. The number to call, in case you're wondering, is 972-454-0703. If you want to talk to me about Kash, Patel, Dan Bongino, or Biden, I'd rather not talk about Diddy, but if you want to ask about that, that's fine. But tell me if you think I'm wrong. Should we be cheering prostate cancer and screaming, go cancer, go? Go cancer, go. Go. Should we be doing that or not? I said I'm not cheering it, but I also said that like I pray 3 times a day that the wicked shall be punished. And he's definitely wicked. So I'm not. What? So I'm definitely not weeping over this. But the number is 972-454-0703. I'm going to put up my I think I have a banner here which says that. Do I? Nope. I'll put a banner up. And it's about that time you should hit like and subscribe, please. I'd be much obliged. It's way past, Lady Lawgic says, way past time they hit like and subscribe. Way past time. I'm not going to be taking many calls because I'm going to be joining Jim Tells You very soon. I'll be redirecting you over there. I need to get that guy over 1,000 subs. And he's supposed to be starting in a few minutes. So I figured if I go over there, maybe somebody will join, and perhaps that will help him. So I'll probably spend like an hour over there or so. I didn't share this. Calling number is 972-454-0703. It's in the banner there. 972-454-0703. And if no one wants to talk to me, that's okay too. I'll get over it. I'll get over it. I will survive. I'm a survivor. I want to check up on the ghetto. Make sure I'm not missing anything there while I'm doing this here. Dan and Kash are afraid of catching Clintonitis. Duck Fat says, I argue it's way past time for Lady Lawgic to make sandwiches. Well, I'm not eating sandwiches these days. So I do want some meat, though. I think I'm going to take some meat. Yeah, meat. Definitely want some meat.
Call from. To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail.
Hello.
Hi, it's Beautiful Messy Ball.
Hey, how you doing? Tell me about how corrupt she is.
Well, I think the whole system is corrupt, and that I think that the deep state is real, and that Diddy and Epstein are more connected than people want to believe.
Walk us through it. Walk us through it.
Well, I don't know that you're going to like what I have to say, but I think that it's hard. Okay. I feel like I'm put on pressure now.
Don't worry. Take
sorry.
your time. Take your time. Walk us through it.
I'm not usually at a loss for words. And now my brain is farting.
Don't worry about it.
Especially on this topic, I'm not usually at a loss for words. There, from all of the victims that I have listened to, and some of who I have spoken to personally, they say that there is a connection to the CIA and the Mossad.
Okay.
Which I know a lot of people don't like hearing.
You think it's the whole Israel thing? Is that what you're
right.
afraid of? Oh.
Right.
See, I don't look at it the same way when people talk about the Mossad. Okay, I'll get this.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get this out of the way. Do I think that it's possible that there are sick, twisted people in the Mossad? Definitely.
Right.
I think people see the problem that ends up coming up is that people will just sort of use that as a blanket picture of like what all Israel is like, and then like what all Jews are like. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to like, which is basically like saying like, well, you see Bill Gates is like, that's like what all Christians are like. That's what all Americans are like, and that's what all Christians are like. Which is just like, how do you get that? How does that come about? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, no one would come to that conclusion based on seeing Bill Gates, but they seem to come to that conclusion when it comes to Israel and Jews, even if like
Right.
But go on.
And that's the thing is, I don't believe that, but I fear when I say that people will think that I think that all Israelis and all Jews are like that, which I don't believe. I posted a link in Locals of an interview with a man named George Tonks, who talks about it. He was a victim of, I forget if it was, I think it was DuPont, which is linked to Epstein and Wexner. Because you were talking about how did Epstein get Wexner to go along with all of his things. And this is like a true cabal. And it's not even just...
Are you talking about Jonathan Odie thing that you shared?
No, this is another interview. This goes back to the Bush administration, I believe. It goes back, let's see, George Tonks, I think, is in his 50s now. He's like my age or your age. I'm in my late 40s. He was a male model when he was in his prepubescent age, like 10 to 12-ish, and into his teens. And he was basically given, he didn't, his home life was not great. He does an interview on Rumble with Rachel Ham. And if I try to go through the whole thing, I'm not going to do it justice. But he
I need the
basically,
elevator version.
right. That's why I'm going to try to give you the elevator version. He didn't have a great home life. DuPont basically stole him from his family because he was doing the modeling thing. He raped him, and then claimed to have adopted. He told people he was his son. He took him in, told people he was his son, changed his name, gave him a whole new identity.
Who did this? Who told him he was his son?
George Tonks himself.
Okay.
The interview is with Rachel Hamm, and he has documentation of a lot of this, and it's in the interview. And then he talks about his experience with Wex, like that whole enterprise. So I'm not going to try to explain the whole thing because I can't really recall it off the top of my head. It's been a while since I've watched the interview. But he also knew Maria Farmer, who I know that Virginia Giuffre is.
Do you mean Annie Farmer?
A what?
I think you mean Annie Farmer, right? Wasn't that her name?
No, well, Maria Farmer and Annie Farmer are sisters.
Sisters, right? Okay, fine. All right.
So Maria Farmer.
She's referencing. In case you're confused, the caller here is referencing women who made claims against Epstein. Right.
Annie Farmer testified in
the Maxwell trial.
Maxwell's case, but Maria Farmer was what she was an art student at, I forget if it was SVA or NYU.
Okay.
And she is the one that introduced her sister Annie to Epstein
right. That rings a bell. So what are you trying to get at here? What's your objective? The point you're trying to.
Well, that it's just a much bigger enterprise than many think. And when people give Virginia Giuffre a lot of credit for being the main victim, Maria and Annie were actually the first to come forward. And Vicky Ward from Vanity Fair, they came forward before Annie and Maria came forward before Vicky. Before all my ADHD, all my thoughts are trying to get out.
That's all right. That's okay. But I do want to land the plane here.
It's just one big cabal, and it's worldwide. And
I'll tell you right now, I think that the Diddy story is arguably much more wide scale than Epstein. Because I think the reason it's possible. The reason it's very possible is because Diddy has natural allure. They're both supposedly very charismatic people when you meet them, but he's someone who, when people hear the name Diddy, there's gravitas there. No one heard Jeffrey Epstein's name until he was charged, until he was already his first appearance in the public limelight was as a billionaire defendant, as opposed to Diddy, who it's like people would want to hang out with Diddy so they could tell their friends, I spent an afternoon hanging out with Diddy. I was invited to Diddy's party. I was there. I'm in Diddy's inner circle. I was at Diddy's after party. This is things so that people would just sort of jump on board to be around Diddy in a way that he didn't even have to try. And famous people, because it's not just the general public that tends to be awed. One of the things I've seen is that, like, even people who are big celebrities, when they become big celebrities, tend to be awed by the opportunity to meet other big celebrities. Like, it's like, it's the same way you and I would know the name Diddy. So too, when Matt Damon would first meet Diddy, he'd be like, oh my God, that's Diddy. Like, I'm hanging out with Diddy. Right. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying anything about Matt Damon specifically. I have no knowledge at all. I just picked a celebrity name off the top of my head. But it would be like, oh my God, that's Diddy. I get to have a chance to hang out with Diddy. Why would I want to hang out with somebody no one knows, or would I want to hang out with Diddy? They'd be like, oh, why would I hang out with Diddy? Everyone wants to hang out with Diddy. As opposed to Epstein doesn't have that. No one's like, oh, I want to hang out with Epstein. No one even recognized him before he was arrested.
I agree with you to an extent. I think that they were both equally as powerful, and I think their circles ran as equally as worldwide. But I think that Diddy, you're right, had that charisma, and as the kids call
And the
it,
name
the
value.
ring,
He had the
and
name
the
value.
name value.
Yeah.
But where Epstein differs is, I think Epstein targeted more politicians, where Diddy
Was celebrities.
ran in more the celebrity circle.
That's probably true. That's probably true.
They just had different clientele.
That's probably true. But I don't think there's that much of a separation between Hollywood and DC. I think the separation is a lot
No,
less
I don't.
than the
And-
geographic distance would have us think.
And but once you go out into the worldview, there is, and in terms of the political, like the Saudi princes are not as well. That's not necessarily true, because some of Diddy's security were.
I got to go
sought.
very soon because I'm running out of time here.
Okay, I get that.
Yeah.
Because it's something I could literally talk about for days.
Right.
And people want to hear other people, and I get that. I'm not
Right.
the only person here.
Right.
But it's a very complex issue that, like I said, people could talk about for days. I could write a dissertation on it. But I did post some links I only posted one in Discord now. I did post the Audi one the other day, and I really do think it's worth you taking a look at, even if you don't look at it.
I'm gonna try pre-screen it and see if it's something that I really want to.
Yeah, the full interview that's been released is it's a little over a half hour. I think it's like 32 minutes.
Yeah, I meant to check it out today. I just didn't have time. Thank you so much. I appreciate the call. I'm gonna take one more call before I go. I'll talk to you
Thanks.
soon.
Sorry, I
No worries.
rambled a little bit.
No worries at all. Have a good night.
You too. Thanks. Bye.
I'll take one more call if I can get a call in the next 30 seconds or so. We'll see how fast that call comes in. But sometimes they come fast and furious. Other times, I did not make any fun of Joe Biden tonight, just so you know. But then I got a smile from Lady Lawgic. She's pleased with me. Always. What justice are we seeking in Epstein death? I don't understand your question, Elegant.
Call from
Barrett Boy.
Hello.
Hello, this is Barrett Boy.
Barrett Boy?
Yeah.
Good to hear from you. How you doing, brother?
I'm all right. How are you?
Can't complain. Can't complain. What do you got for me?
Well, referencing the Dan Bongino and Kash Patel matter.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, what concerns me is we have all the hype coming into the Trump administration of getting to the root of all of these matters. And then we get Dan Bongino and Kash Patel giving us the status quo.
Yeah. That's why
my concern is, and my concern beyond, the immediate is
just
when
pause
midterms come.
One second.
Come out.
Job for 9. I did see this, and I shook my head at you, saying like I haven't seen her artwork. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go. I didn't want to.
Okay. Well,
your concern is what? One more time.
My concern is that when the status quo remains, by the time we get to the midterms, people that would have loved to vote in support of Trump for the midterms are going to be so frustrated they just sit home. Yep. And the midterms will turn into a disaster. And that, things need to happen.
Yes.
Somebody needs to be paraded before the court, charged, and they need to be gone after. And none of that's happening. The document releases are disappointing. The interviews from Pam Bondi, Bongino now, Patel are just, this is the status quo. Now, maybe it's true. Bring up documents hold some kind of a live stream where
we actually have some
Epstein
answers, some explanations. Yes.
Right.
Precisely,
And
that's my point.
Absent those things, we're going to lose the midterms and we're going to have impeachment time. And that's going to take up all of Trump's time.
Yeah.
That's my point.
No, I think you're making excellent points. I hadn't really been thinking about it from a midterm perspective, but you're right to be looking ahead to that. We need what we've seen so far is in the Trump administration, he has been excellent and his appointments have been a disappointment. Right? I mean, think of all the appointments we've seen so far. They've been having the leaking signal chats. They've been Pam Bondi has been a disappointment. Kash and Dan Bongino are a disappointment. It's just one disappointment after another from his appointments, and one success after another with the way he's been handling his policy. And it's very the only one who we've been pleased with at all is the one who's not appointed, and that's Elon and Doge. And even they seem to have slowed down somewhat.
Absolutely, they've slowed down. I mean, I would say not appointed but chosen. I think J.D. Vance has exceeded my expectations.
True.
Personally.
Good call.
I think I've been thrilled with him, and I think that
Tom Homan has been
Trump
good too. Tom Homan's been very good. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what Trump is into in his current foreign policy little tour and what he is potentially setting the table like for that is potentially stunning. What could come out of that?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, there are these really good things, but we get to the midterms, Democrats get control, and now his time is occupied with impeachment stuff.
That's true.
And once again, the Republicans in the House and the Senate, they don't come to rally to Trump like Democrats rally to their president. All this talk about things come up, and it is problems with what Trump is suggesting, rather than constantly being, this is what my president wants. I'm going to do everything I can to see that it comes about. And that's not the approach that they take. And I don't feel like that's the approach that the appointments are taking either in what they're pursuing. You know, if we're all wrong and there's no deep state that's manipulating things, bring out the documentation, put on a case for the people and say, here's the real truth of the matter. And this is what happened with Epstein. This has happened with whatever. Put on the real truth. But stop playing these games and teasing us with, oh, we're going to drop the documents. We're really going to go after this. We're going to do that. And nothing comes of it.
Nothing. Thank you, brother. Appreciate the call.
Yep.
You have a good night, my friend.
You too. Bye.
Yeah, and that's really my point. I'm gonna be shutting down in a moment. So I'm shutting the phone line. That's really my point about Dan and Kash. You have to do better. You, even if you're telling us the truth, which I have grave concerns that you're completely not, you have to do better. You have to tell us more about what the origin of Jeffrey Epstein is, where he's coming from, what his whole story was, and why it is that you're so convinced now, something that you never would have been convinced of as recently as 6 months ago. What have you seen? You know all the reasons as well as anyone else. I'm talking to you, Kash, Patel. I'm talking to you, Dan Bongino. You know all the reasons why it is that we don't believe you, because you were here with us 6 months ago. Now you're in D.C. and singing a whole different tune. You can't just talk down to us and say, I'm a public defender or a prosecutor, so listen to me. That's the same lip service we've been getting from DC for decades. That's the same lip service we were trying to vote out. That's the same lip service that the two of you in particular were supposed to represent the exact opposite of. And that's why it's an utter disappointment. I hope one day you prove me wrong. I hope one day you make me eat. I pray one day you make me eat my words. And you say, oh, this is all just some big operation. And here are the people that we have who are behind, who are involved in the murder of Epstein. That'd be phenomenal. I would love to eat my words on this one. I'm very skeptical that I ever will, though. Very skeptical. And until that happens, everything I hear from you, I have to sit there saying, I start questioning, do I believe it, instead of giving it the benefit of the doubt and the trust, all that trust that you spent years building up with me and people who think like me, you whisked away today. And that's very, very disappointing. Anyway, tomorrow I'm going to be back in court with more Diddy coverage, more stuff, and I provide coverage in ways that no one else can do or is even trying to do. So I hope that you'll stick with me for that. Check out my videos. Make sure you drop comments on those videos. You drop comments here, like, share, subscribe, all that other stuff here. You know what they say, that lab meat is definitely not for me. It's not for you. It's for they, them. Don't go anywhere near it. And I'm going to be whisking you over now to Jim Tells You. Jim Tells You, where I'm going to be joining him on that show. So he's my producer. He's my co-host who I've brought on here a lot over the past week or so. And I'm going to be hanging out there. I need to get that guy over 1,000. So even if you just come over there and hit subscribe so we can get him up over that 1,000 subscriber mark, I'd be much obliged. I plan on spending like an hour over there. I'm probably personally going to show up there in like 5 minutes or so. I'm going to grab something to eat really quick. But I'm going to send you over there, and I'll be catching up with there. Please make sure you sub up to him when you get there and send him my best. I will see you all over there shortly. And until then, don't eat the bugs. Do not eat the bugs. Just don't do it. Don't do it. Do a quick check to make sure I didn't miss anything in the ghetto. I think I'm good, though. I am good. All right. You know what they say. Good night and Godspeed.